In the middle years of the 15th century, Lebrija was a small village emplaced beside the green countryside and the marshland, close to Guadalquivir River. Almost 2 centuries after the Christian conquest, the town was still deep into the political and cultural context of the Middle Ages, as the Christian expansion along the south was still enduring. This was the historical scenario, in which Antonio de Lebrija was born in 1444. Even though the precise whereabouts of his mansion remains unknown, data points at a location near the medieval castle entrance esplanade, in a building located few meters away of ancient Maisons Street, present-day Antonio de Lebrija Street. Although his stay in Lebrija was restricted to just 14 years, throughout his years of life, from 1444 to 1522, the city entered into a process in which legacy and transformation coexisted. Urban traces and some city center buildings are the only remains left of that period. But the eyes of that boy surely contemplated the town crowned by the fortress in Cerro del Castillo, and a walled village that spread out downhill, until reaching Prado del Arco, currently Plaza de España. Archaeological researches support that the medieval castle continued operating on full capability until the end of the 15th century. This was the moment in which the castle started a slow decline and abandon, due to the finalization of the Christian conquest by the Catholic kings in 1492 with the capture of Granada. On other side, knowledge about the wall of the town is still vague, and with several gaps, but we do know that its trace responds to the 13th century renovation by the Almohads, on an initial Roman imperial base. Nowadays, its perimeter run hidden between the houses' dividing walls, but we can deduce the circuit and its gates, among which Sevilla Gate was one of the most important, a pre-existing Roman gate emplaced in present-day Ignacio Alcón Street. All this suggests that Lebrija was comfortable with the preceding urban structure, as it had enough conditions to absorb the growth of the town during centuries. The middle of the settlement was consolidated around the church of Nuestra Señora de la Oliva, a Mudéjar-style church of great singularity, which undertook an important extension process in late 15th century, with the Patio de los Naranjos hoisting and the realization of the Renaissance crossing and high altar. This construction focused the urban growth as the most important buildings and equipment were arranged around the church. One of the most prominent buildings is the Hospital of Santa Maria de la Piedad, located in front of the Perdón gate of the church, of which only the facade and the stables courtyard are preserved. This may be the place where Antonio de Lebrija Kid took his first grammatic lessons. There were more emblematic landmarks in its surroundings, such as the Jewish Cartier, the Moorish Cartier or other Mudéjar-style buildings. A powerful move, which showed the centrality of this place, was its selection to celebrate the municipal chamber meetings. According to the documentary sources, pieces of land facing the Sol Gate of Nuestra Señora de la Oliva Church were acquired in the late 15th century, and would become the germ for the future complex of the town hall, grain storage, and municipal prison. Along the progressive city consolidation, Lebrija deployed a strong constructive activity. The town started to overflow its walls, and some constructions were built in Catano, Trinidad, Tetuan and Manassas y Portales streets. 2 convents were also founded, the feminine and within city walls Reales Madres Concepcionistas Convent, and masculine Santa Maria de Jesus Convent, outside the walls. These religious spaces were close to the main access of the city, Sevilla Gate, so it helped to fill empty spaces, both inside and outside the walled perimeter. Prado del Arco itself, once a vast wasteland in front of Sevilla Gate, undertook its gradual urbanization, and it implied the appearance of the first buildings in its margins, which would be determining the present-day configuration of Plaza de España.